morning, Britain. Well, it's Saturday, August the 27th, and bank holiday yet again. We've got a fabulous show for you today, but most importantly, our phoning guest this morning is Kenneth Williams, who no doubt will be outrageous. If you've got a question you'd like to ask him, phone us now on 01404040401.
Well done. And I'm in seventh heaven this morning with so much musical interest. We'll be going behind the scenes of the Barry Manilow Blenheim concert. We're also down in Liverpool at the preparations for the Beatles convention. And we've got the winning steel band from the Notting Hill Carnival this weekend. Plus, of course, Paul Gambaccini and a calypso singer and a world champion hula hooper.
Oh, the hula hooping. Yes, I'll be doing that. Well, we'll also be peeping into outer space to look at UFOs. We'll be zooming backwards to play with mythological dragons and see medieval knights jousting.
But first, over to Jane Irving at the news desk. Good morning, Jane.
Good morning, Tony. The top story today, the United States has welcomed Russia's tit-for-tat deal to cut back on nuclear arms in Europe. Soviet leader Yuri Andropov was offered to scrap any of his SS-20 missiles withdrawn from Europe if in return America drops its plans to base Pershing and cruise missiles there. A State Department spokesman said last night that they hoped the offer will be confirmed in the formal Geneva arms talks due to resume in 11 days' time. It'll be the last round of talks before cruise and Pershing deployment begins in December. Meanwhile, officials in Whitehall say they need to study the complete text of Mr. Andropov's statement before making any comment. In Northern Ireland, the Royal Ulster Constabulary has been put on standby following a threat of industrial action by 2,500 prison officers. They're refusing to work overtime unless they're given a travel allowance. Northern Ireland Junior Minister Nicholas Scott said he would not give in to the demands. 4 main prisons are expected to be affected. They're the Maze at Lisburn in County Antrim, the Crumlin Road Jail in Belfast, McGilligan in County Derry, and the Women's Prison at Armagh. The action's due to start on Monday. Meanwhile, Ken Livingstone, the leader of the Greater London Council, has been criticised for remarks he made on Irish radio. He said that what Britain had done to Ireland over the last 800 years was worse than what Hitler did to the Jews. Ken McGuinness, official Unionist MP for Fermanagh and South Tyrone, said Mr Livingstone's views were the rantings of someone detached from reality. Police are hunting this morning for a man who gave the kiss of life to a woman injured in a car crash. It's feared he may have contracted the deadly disease of hepatitis. The accident happened in London's West End last night. Police say the man must receive medical treatment within the next 48 hours. There's been a new development in the Vauxhall car dispute. Workers at the Luton factory will meet on Wednesday to decide whether to strike over their £25 a week pay claim. And there's a national move by the unions to stop the import of foreign-made Vauxhall cars as part of their campaign. Production at Cardown Colliery near Glasgow came to an end at midnight last night after 55 years of mining. Although they'd waged a summer-long campaign against the closure, Scottish miners turned down a call for strike action. The 740 men still at the pit when it shut have been offered transfers to other coal mines or redundancy payments of up to £25,000 for those with long service. Union officials said they were disgusted at the refusal to continue the dispute and claimed that Cardown was merely the first on the National Coal Board's so-called hit list in the Scottish coalfield. And miners in South Wales will vote on Wednesday whether to accept or reject closure of the Brinclew pit near Swansea. In America, 250,000 people are expected to take part in a rally in Washington today. It marks the 20th anniversary of the famous speech by the civil rights leader Dr. Martin Luther King.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed.
Dr. King was assassinated in 1968. Today, the marchers will walk past the White House, but President Reagan won't see them. He's in California. Leading the marchers will be King's widow, Coretta, and Jesse Jackson, who may become the first black person to run for president. They're pressing for Dr. King's birthday to be made a national holiday. Well, that's all the news. Now over to John Stone for the weather.
Thank you, Jane. Good morning. Bank holiday, and I can promise you some lovely sunny weather in the south of the country, but I'm afraid northern areas will be rather cloudy. If we look at the satellite picture for yesterday, we should notice that central England, most of the country in fact, was clear of cloud. Rather a lot of storms over France noticed, and our main interest is concentrated to that bank of cloud coming in from the northwest. That's already down over Scotland and Northern Ireland, and it's continuing to move southeast. So if we look at the board, for this morning, we'll notice that the sunshine will continue throughout the whole morning over East Anglia, the Midlands, Wales, Northern England and southern counties. But cloud has already reached the south of Scotland, and that will continue to move into Cumbria and northwest Wales. Scotland will be rather cloudy, mainly dry, but there is a little rain in parts of central Scotland and Northern Ireland. About a 75% chance in this area, and this is slowly moving southeastwards. A little sunshine from time to time. Strong winds in the north of Scotland. Then at midday, 12 o'clock, we shall see that the sunshine will be continuing in East Anglia, the Midlands, most of Wales, and all southern counties, and it shall become very warm again with temperatures 24 or 25 degrees centigrade. Northern England and northwest Wales will become rather cloudy, and there will be a little rain or drizzle. Much cooler in Scotland, some sunshine, but quite a lot of cloud. And by this evening, we'll notice that rather cloudy conditions over Northern England, North Wales, elsewhere some sunshine, and the outlook is becoming rather warm again and quite a lot of sunshine. And now over to Tony.
Thanks, John. Well, it's time for us to take a break, and after the break we're going to have sport and Dungeons and Dragons. And if you'd like to phone in a question to our special guest this morning, Kenneth Williams, call us now on 01404040401. 401. We'll take a short break now. Back in a minute.
Wall's pork pies with a rich, crisp pastry are great at any time of the day. Wall's pork pies, really tasty, time and time again.
This bank holiday weekend, there's over 100 extra reductions in the big Texas sale.
Texas, the big one. They're going raving mad out there.
Switch to TVAM at 8:05 on Monday for grand old-timer Arthur English and discover the magic that brought him a sensational young wife.
See what happens when Roland Rat hits York.
And what happens when York comes to TVAM. That's Michael York on Monday.
Be there for the Space Shuttle blast-off on Tuesday morning.
And look through the keyhole at the Playboy lifestyle of Victor Lowndes. And switch on to seaside fun at Sunnyrill in Wales with Chris Tarrant.
Switch to ITV tomorrow to see it all happening on TVAM.
Your dog, have you?
Yeah, I don't know where he's gone. Oh, hello, welcome back. What shall we do now? How about a bit of sport? So, over to that sporty little thing, Gladys King. Oh, not Gladys.
Oh, it's terrible.
Sorry.
Hello. Well, in sport this morning, we talked to the golden boy of Scottish soccer who's come south. We go water skiing and sidecar racing, and we've Jim McGrath with some winning tips. But first, Steve Cram. He only just failed to snatch Steve Ovet's 1,500-metre world record in Brussels last night. Britain's athlete of the moment finished way ahead of a star-studded field, just 3/10 inside the 1,500 metres record. Now football, and 92 English clubs begin one of the most important seasons of the last 20 years in the new Canon League. Football is losing fans, and a large number of clubs are losing money. For many of them, the next 12 months could be make or break. On the field, last year's champions Liverpool have a new manager. Joe Fagan, who took over from Bob Paisley. He's already suffered his first setback, and that was losing to Manchester United in the Charity Shield. But what are the prospects for the First Division new boys? Well, like Second Division champions Queen's Park Rangers. Then there's Leicester, and what about Wolves? Between them last season, they amassed more than 200 goals, like this pair that Wolves scored off Barnsley.
Now Livingston. Johnson snapping back at him, but still Livingston. Good control. Fine save by Horn. And it's there from Humphrey. Daniels chip. Farmer on. Eves. He's onside. The linesman's flag stayed down.
And this afternoon, Wolves face Liverpool at Manilow. Queen's Park Rangers travel to Old Trafford to meet Manchester United, while Leicester have one of the easiest starts to the season, and they're at home to Notts County. Another new boy is Charlie Nicholas, a £750,000 buy from Celtic. He lines up for Arsenal against Luton at Highbury. However, the golden boy of Scottish football now has to prove that he's worth every penny and live up to his press.
The press are looking now for like a personality, and they're trying to make out someone. And unfortunately it's failing me, but I'm the type of person that I don't really bother about it. They can write what they want and say what they want. And it'll be on the field that they, like say, I give my verdict. If I don't do it, obviously they can slag me, but if I do it and Arsenal do it, they can't knock me at all. The game's about playing, it's not about setting targets or telling him or whoever what you're going to do. It's about going out and there's 11 guys in the field and all playing together and getting a victory. That's what the game's about, not targets.
Well, it's an important weekend for water skiers in Northern Ireland, the scene of the Guinness Championships. Jackie Fullerton now reports from Loughenny on Ulster's likely First Lady of water skiing, and she's Fiona Hughes.
A member of the host club Meteor, Fiona made her international debut this summer and is now hoping to lift the Ulster title.
Well, I've been training very hard over the summer. On average, I would have 3 or 4 skis a day, and that's every day of the week. Well, my favourite of the events is slalom, and that's where you have to go round 6 buoys on the course, and if you pass through the course successfully, then the speed is put up in the boat. And at the moment, I'm running the slalom course at 28 miles an hour. I would say the most difficult of the 3 events. It's all a matter of timing and precision. If you make a mistake, it's fatal, and you end up in the water. It's only in the last year that I've learnt to jump. I found it very frightening at first because from the other side it looks like a brick wall. But this year I've managed to land off a 5-foot ramp quite consistently. But it does take an awful lot of nerve.
Quite a brave lady. And another sport where balance is absolutely crucial is sidecar racing. The ever-improving Northamptonshire crew of Keith Cousins and Phil Hooken will be spending this weekend racing in Czechoslovakia. An Anglia camera crew joined them in final practice at Snetterton before they left for the continent.
It takes nerve to ride a bike around a racetrack at 140 miles an hour. It takes courage bordering on madness to sit there as a passenger, twisting, turning and almost leaning onto the tarmac, pulling the machine into every bend and corner. It takes time to develop a good understanding, but Keith Cousins and his passenger Phil Hookham hit it off from the start, and they go into the last month of their first full season together as championship leaders.
Plenty rich, a little bit too rich to give the best from the engine.
Cousins and Hookham won in Italy and finished second in Austria and at Donington Park, to give them a 2-point lead over the New Zealander Graham Gleeson with 3 rounds to go. Their form is guaranteed to take them onto the Grand Prix circuit next summer, without the rewards of the glamour heaped on the solo 500cc riders. These are special skills though, spectacular and dangerous.
Because a 3-wheel machine doesn't steer very well, it's a case of we come to a corner and Keith has to throw it into the corner because it tends to understeer. So if you turn in gently, when you turn the power on, it tries to drive off the outside of the circuit. So it's a case of Keith has to throw it in hard and start it sliding, and then I have to control, well, what you could say is the end of the slide.
It is essential, actually, to do your practice training, to put your act together and have a few words after a session and say, well, Phil, you're not quite right here, and then the next session, or actually in the race, something can be done about it, and usually it pays off. Usually I'm concentrating so much on doing my best at it that you don't seem to get any sense of speed. You know, it's quite strange.
My wife does my laundry, so it's no problem for me anyway.
Oh, male chauvinist. Well, good luck to them, and also good luck to everybody who backs Jim McGrath's racing tips.
Thank you, Sue. I like that name, John. Gladys.
He's going to stick
her under her.
really.
Anyway, a hectic bank holiday racing programme gets underway this afternoon with no less than 7 meetings. On the flat, they're under orders at Newmarket, Goodwood, Windsor and Newcastle, whilst Market Raisin, Hereford and Cartmel provide the action over the sticks. The Waterford Crystal Mile at 3:10 at Goodwood is the highlight of the day, and this should provide Goritis with a chance to finally break his duck for the season, and hopefully he and Willie Carson will peg back that game front runner no alcoholic inside the last 2 furlongs. Newmarket has 3 good prizes on its 6-race card, beginning at 1:30 with the Stanley House handicap over a mile. Hollywood Party and Maritz-Fontaine look certain to dominate this, he said. Both animals were successful last week, Maritz-Fontaine's victory coming in the Bradford and Bingley handicap at York.
Fontaine that strikes the front inside the final furlong. Maritz Fontaine from Calafi with rangefinder shooting very fast, so too Ramos. But Maritz Fontaine in the lead by some 2 to 3 lengths. Coming up towards the line, Maritz Fontaine from Ramos and rangefinder. That's the line. Maritz Fontaine is the winner. A photo for second place.
Newcastle's main prize is the Northern Goldsmiths handicap at 245. 12 3-year-olds contest this, of which 10 are already winners this season. And they include Gago Lady, trained by Barry Hills, who'll probably start favourite. She's no certainty, though, in my opinion. And Moore's Metal could be the best each-way bet in the race. Last month, he started at 25 to 1 for the Addison Tools handicap and sprang a major surprise.
Just over a furlong to go, very wide open race. Prego in the lead from Tacono, with Moore's Metal finishing very fast on the stand side, and Moore's Metal comes through to take it up. Moore's Metal in the lead, but Prego is battling back. Moore's Metal, Prego, with teleprompter absolutely flying at the death, coming up towards the line. It's Moore's Metal who wins it, a photo for second.
So today's tips: Goritus, the Nap in the 10 past 3 at Goodwood, and specially for John Noakes in the 3 o'clock at Newmarket. Laughing lad.
Thank you. Jim, if I remember rightly, last Saturday it was like Monte Carlo Casino here, because Tony Arthur was flashing a £5 note to put on a horse.
She was waving them, but they were attached to a piece of string and they went straight back in her purse afterwards. She didn't put them on the horse.
Well, did the horse win?
No.
Oh, it's a good job I didn't.
Right, can I just remind everybody as well that there's powerboat racing from the Royal Victoria Dock today, the World Cycling Championships from Zurich, as well as On the Ball and wrestling. And that's all on ITV this afternoon. And that is all from Sport for the moment.
Thank you, Gladys.
Oh,
Jim, I think
I'll get you next week.
Stick, isn't it, eh? Yeah, sorry about that, Sue. Never mind, I'll call her Sue in future. Now, actually, not only have I lost my dog, I've lost Tony. I don't know what she's been up to. I think she's done something wrong. I've got a feeling they've slung her in the dungeon. Tony?
Okay, Shan's just keep the door open.
Well, John, I'm in the dungeon for a very good reason. You see, the game Dungeons and Dragons is sweeping the country. And it's not just a game for kids. People of all ages play it. And with me is Tim Olsen, who works at the game's British importers. And he's here to unravel, for the uninitiated, some of its secrets. Now, Tim, there's an enormous game going on in the background. But tell me, what is this Dungeons and Dragons about?
Well, basically, it's a role-playing game where they assume the characters as they play them, as if they were actually in a dungeon and playing and fighting monsters and creatures.
Now, doesn't it stem from war games?
In a sense, the actual company that brought the game out was originally a war games company, but it's grown from that, so that war games, I would say, is a very small part of it. It's more experience instead of like war and killing.
So it's better, it's more adventurous, more creative.
More fun.
Yeah. Oh, we've got something coming across the screen at the moment, a chariot. I don't know whether you can see it. What are the names of the characters that are in these?
Well, there's a lot of different names. That was a knoll chariot.
Yeah.
And there's orcs and goblins, and then you get the regular mythological creatures, three-headed dogs.
The regular mythology.
Yeah, regular ones.
Is it all based on mythology, in fact?
Well, in a sense, a lot of the actual monsters in the game find their roots in mythology, Greek, Roman, everything like that. But a lot of them are just created from the player's minds.
Yeah. Now, we've got... What's this coming across? We've got a dragon playing a saxophone.
No, that's a joke. That was just a fun figure done for the shop.
Yeah.
Exactly what it is, just a saxophone playing
But you
dinosaur.
could, I mean, in the game, you could actually have a dinosaur who suddenly picked up a saxophone and started confusing everybody.
Well, sure, that's the whole point of the game is imagination.
Yeah.
So you create whatever you want.
Now, let me talk to this group at the back. Gavin. Gavin, you are the dungeon master.
Yes.
Now, what does that mean exactly?
Well, Dungeon Master is in charge of the dungeon. He's the one that draws up all the dungeon and populates it with monsters.
Do you get it from a book or do you make up your own dungeon?
Well, you can buy dungeons from a book, but this particular one I've made up myself.
And it looks as if it's pretty difficult. John, tell me, has he made up a really difficult dungeon?
Pretty difficult, yeah.
Are you lost?
Yeah.
What's the name of your character?
Dengor.
Dengor, where'd you get that from?
I just made it up.
Is he good?
It's pretty good, yeah.
Pretty good. What's the trick up your sleeve about your character? What's his really special characteristic?
Well, I use magic.
Fine. Rick, what do you use with your character?
Just use sheer strength.
Sheer strength?
Got a fire character.
Now listen, does this sort of reflect a bit of your own inner personality? Or would fantasy personality?
Well, I think it's just a fun game.
Yeah. Now, John-Paul, I have to call you John-Paul because the other one's John, right?
Yeah.
John-Paul, how long is this game likely to last?
It can last any length of time, just as long as your character's life is still alive.
So your character... Tim, this has frightened me. Your character can die. Now, how does your character die?
Well, if he comes up against a monster or a spell that kills him, see, each player has a certain number of hit points, which is allocated by dice.
Yeah.
If he should be killed by dragons such as this one, then his character would be taken out of the game, and then the player could roll up another character using the dice and come into the game at another point as a different character.
Yeah. Now, this game has got a mass of books with it.
Yeah.
And I know I've got one here that says Kishi Jotun is from the Japanese mythos, and the words are absolutely lovely. The use of words, you've got dexterity, her special defenses, magic resistance, alignment. She is a goddess of luck. Do you think this is a good game to learn language with as well?
Well, definitely. A lot of schools have been in touch with Games Workshop to ask if they can have the books for their schools as library books.
As library books?
As library books. They actually get them into the library and play them in school groups.
Actually, I must say, my son, when he was interviewed for his school, he was asked, did he play any war games? And he said, yes, Dungeons and Dragons. And they said, right, you're in, which is really very nice. Is it played all over the world?
I'm not so sure. I think America and England are the two main groups of players.
Yeah.
We have a lot of, like, French people who are playing, Belgians. It's growing.
Yeah.
Basically still an English-speaking game.
And it's quite expensive, because a character like this lovely flying dragon, is that a flying dragon?
Yeah, that's the Citadel Imperial Dragon.
And it costs quite a bit.
Yeah, it's very much a collector's figure.
It sounds really good. We're not going to let these people go away. Tim Olsen, thank you very, very much. And we're going to take a break now. Don't forget, if you'd like to ask Kenneth Williams, our special phoning guest this morning, a question, phone us now on 01404040401. And after the break, it's hula hoops and Johnny Notes.
Wake up to what Pi is doing. The trouble with home stereo is you can't carry it around. Now listen to the new Pi Spatial Stereo Radio Recorder. An extra dimension in stereo sound. The bigger sound you can carry around. Wake up to what Pi is doing.
Most women would like to change their lives. Cosmopolitan shows how to do that, and in a very practical way. Maybe that's how it works.
It gave me that extra boost, that extra feeling that I could go out there and get just the job I wanted.
And it provided the opportunity to do something that I really did enjoy and make a career out of it.
It energizes your mind so that you get that enthusiasm to go out and get what you want.
Does your life need changing? Try Cosmopolitan.
The grand final of Ultra Quiz can be seen tonight at 7:30 on ITV. Only 4 out of the 2,000 original contestants have survived the grueling battle around the world for a place in the final. Only one of the globe-trotting hopefuls will go home £10,000 richer. Find out who will be the winner of Britain's very first Ultra Quiz tonight at 7:30 on ITV.
Don't forget your passport to summertime entertainment. TV Times. It's your guide to over 180 hours of television every week on ITV and Channel 4. Summer sport. Summer films. Summer comedy. Summer drama. And lots of children's programs. Get TV Times. It's your passport to a whole world of summertime entertainment.
Times Magazine.
Do you remember these things? They were all the rage about 25 years ago, and they're coming back into fashion. But does anyone remember how to use them? We've been finding out.
Have a go.
Yeah, do you want to go?
I can't do it.
Pull it in your back. No, that way.
That way.
And then
just wiggle
like
your
that.
hips.
Go on. Not your arms, your hips.
Oh, it's so difficult. I thought there used to be a programme with David Jacobs song, wasn't there, in the evening
That's
time?
right.
We used to all do it. Oh, you're asking.
Right. Well, do you remember how to do it?
I can remember vaguely how to do it, yes, I think, just about. Wait a minute, you used to have to put it there and then go...
something like
That's
that.
pretty good, actually.
Oh,
So do you remember these?
yeah, they were, when I was a kid, they were big. Okay, let's see if That's about it for me. I really, well, I really don't think I can. No. Oh!
Oh, very good, very good.
Well, some people can and some people can't, but someone who certainly can, or at least can hula hoop, is the world record holder Chico Johnson from Los Angeles. Chico, welcome to the show. You are the world champion of the hula hoop. How do you become the world champion?
They have a competition in the United States every year since 1968, and what you do is you're given 2 minutes time to do whatever you can with as many hula hoops as possible.
Now, how old were you when you started hula hooping?
I was 10 years old when I started.
So that was 14 years ago, right?
Yeah, quite a while.
Do you have a lot of time to practice in?
Not anymore now that I'm traveling, doing some promotional things for the hula hoop, trying to let everybody know that the hula hoop's still in existence.
But in your youth, how many hours a day did you...
When I was in the contest, I was practicing about 8 hours a day.
8 hours a day? Yeah. Did you ever go to school?
This is during the summer. It was
that was during the summer.
Months.
I'll tell you what, can you show us some of the tricks that you had to do for this World Championship? Right, you've got lots of hoops around. I'll just stand out the way in case I get hit. Okay, Chico, it's all yours. Right.
Around the world, this is going around. It's a new soul station that I have found. Put your mind in the world, put your body in a spin. Gonna tell you people about the shape I'm in. A tornado start and you finish way out. Just forward, stretch, spinning about. Gonna wrap the mummy, gonna alley oop, do the hula hop and the loop-de-loop. There ain't no trick that I can't do. I'm the wizard of the hoop, I'm telling you. Everybody gonna loop-de-loop with a peppermint hoop, gonna alley-oop. I'm the wizard with the magic hoop, Everybody gonna take a spin, grab a peppermint hoop, let the fun begin. Everybody gonna loop-de-loop, If you want that hoop right down to the ground, all you got to do is just slow down. The converse too is no surprise. Just speed up, see the peppermint rise. If you want that hoop to really go, one thing you ought to know. You spin it to the left if you're right with the right. If you're right with the left, then you spin it to the right. There ain't no trick that I can't do. I'm the wizard of the hoop, I'm telling you. Everybody gonna loop-de-loop with a peppermint hoop, gonna alley-oop. I'm the wizard with the magic hoop, Everybody gonna take a spin, grab a peppermint hoop, and let the fun begin. Everybody gonna loop-de-loop, Put your mind in the world. Do a twirl with the magic hoop. All around the world. Do the loop, the loop-de-loop. If you're trying to impress your favorite girl, the thing to do is a slow tush whirl. With the buzzer is followed by a quick duck out. Let me tell you, friends, what it's all about. The caterpillar gonna make the people talk. On one leg to the start. To make a comeback now with the boomerang. But the double.
Okay, Chico, whoa! I'm trying to catch up with you. I don't know. I'll tell you what, it's a bit like these aerobics, isn't it?
Yeah,
there's quite a movement to it. But do you have to warm up before you start hula hooping?
Yeah, that's very, very important. Because in the 50s when they were the craze, a lot of people were complaining that they were getting hurt using them. So
what's your favorite one?
My favorite trick?
Yeah.
Doing it on the rear.
Go on, do it again for us. Give us a laugh. Go on. I don't believe it. Oh, I'll tell you what. When we do the aerobics next week or the week after, I'll get the girls to do that.
Okay,
That'll
it's
be
a
fun.
deal.
Chico, lovely. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Best of luck on your tour. Now then, last time I think Tony was in the dungeons. Now she's gone a bit posh. She's gone to a palace.
Well, a palace, that hula hooping, my goodness. Well, anyway, tonight, rural Oxfordshire will resound to the rich tones of Barry Manilow as he takes to the stage in his only British concert this year. Claire Richards has been visiting Blenheim during the final throes of the preparation. Actually, I wish I'd been there. Barry Manilow. Oh, my heart throb.
Thousands of people visit this spot every year to pay tribute to Sir Winston Churchill.
Lady Clementine didn't die till 1977.
But just 200 yards away, within Blenheim Park, later on today, 40,000 fans will gather to pay tribute to another man who was a legend in his own lifetime, and that's Barry Manilow. They call him the man with the golden tongue, the master of polystyrene schmaltz. But these rather ribald comments from the critics belie an extraordinary following for the man they also dub the world's most successful and popular male singer. I asked Paul Lowsby, concert promoter, who hit upon the idea of Blenheim.
Well, that was my idea, but it was nothing to do with Barry Manilow. It was the classic example of wandering into the grounds of Blenheim Palace and saying, oh, wouldn't that be a good idea? And that was 3 years ago. And I knocked on the door, and I finally got it opened in January of this year.
But why, having refused several previous requests, did the Duke of Marlborough relent this time?
Because of the fact that it is Barry Manilow. I consider Barry Manilow to be the top artist of the Frank Sinatra, Bing Crosby style. And I'm hoping that he will attract an audience of that caliber.
Have you, in fact, received a fair amount of opposition from the people who live nearby?
Naturally, some people have shown apprehension, and I entirely understand this. But, of course, I have to make this decision on the business grounds, and it's only after the concert is taking place will we know whether I've made the right decision from the point of view of the other people in the area, not being too bad to disturb.
So what do the local residents of Woodstock feel?
Everybody is very negative because they feel that the town will be so busy with the wrong type of people that the people who normally come and buy antiques or use the tea shops will actually not be around. So I'm slightly pessimistic about it. But personally, I think we're going to be invaded by lots of 42-year-old mums from Sheffield, so I don't think that's going to be a problem.
I'm going to lock myself in from him because I'm scared to death.
Well, as I said, it's the first time it's ever happened anything like this at Woodstock, so it's bound to cause a bit of aggro or whatever. I'm looking forward to it.
I don't think it's a good thing. I don't like it. I don't like these sort of things. But if they wish to have it there, that's all right. But I'm not taking part. Nothing to do with me at all.
I think it'll be quite exciting. Quite a change for the town to have a different set of people coming in.
Are you worried then about the type of fan that's going to be around?
Well, we were at the beginning until we heard that it was a better classification of concerts, you see.
Superintendent Goodenough, how on earth are you going to manage with all the chaos of this huge influx of cars?
All the cars from the direction of the north and the south will be parked in the same car park but using separate entrances.
Now, I understand they have to pay for the car park. Won't people take one look and say, oh no, I'll nip off somewhere and park in a quiet country lane?
That's always a possibility, but if, of course, they should do so, then the result will be that the vehicles may well be towed away should they be causing an obstruction.
What are you going to do about all this traffic?
Let all the tyres down, I think, and run.
Can I ask you if you're personally a Barry Manilow fan?
Oh, indeed I am. I've got tapes of Barry Manilow and also a video cassette of Barry Manilow doing that concert at the Albert Hall last year.
Fantastic he is.
Tell me why.
His warm personality and the way he sings, you know, he puts over the song.
I never listened to any of that pop music.
No, never.
So no, he just looks pretty kind of thing.
I think he's repulsive.
Had that for Concord, didn't he?
So you're #1 fan in Woodstock, you reckon?
Yes, I reckon I am, really.
It's, you know how, sometimes you have trouble accepting a compliment. You know, if I said you were real pretty today, you would say, gee, Well, you try getting that kind of compliment from a lot of people all the time. It's just, sometimes it's hard to accept. It's been the hardest thing I've had to learn, but I sometimes accept it now.
Kevin, you're the artistic director of this whole huge event. How much involvement has Barry himself had with the organisation?
Barry has more involvement in everything that we do than any other artist I've ever worked with before. He is one of the most creative people I've ever worked with. And as a result, the shows are primarily just those of us working with him making his creative ideas come to fruition on the stage.
Barry Manilow is the star, but he's provided lots of additional entertainment, and it will be a day to remember, I can assure you.
And it's not going to rain.
And of course, it's in the contract. It can't.
Well, have you ever seen a UFO? The widespread interest in UFOs started in 1947 when a mountain rescue pilot in America reported seeing what he described as a flying saucer. Suddenly, many people started seeing them.
Photographing them too. Anywhere from Australia, where a sheep farmer took this strange shot, to America and this 1950 classic from McMinnville in Oregon. Some pictures show such detail that skeptics simply scoff. Others are more enigmatic. This is from Madre de Dios in Peru. This was taken by teenager Stephen Pratt at Conisborough in Yorkshire. Sometimes hundreds of people can be fooled. Many thought this apparition over the Rocky Mountains was a spaceship. In fact, it was a large meteorite which grazed the Earth's atmosphere 40 miles up and then bounced off forever into space.
This week, enthusiasts in this country, members of the British UFO Research Association, are holding a conference which is attracting scientists from Europe and North America. One of the speakers is an American living in Canada, a physicist, Stanton Friedman. His address to the conference is entitled, "UFOs Are Real."
Not quite right.
Sorry.
Flying saucers are real. All flying saucers are UFOs. Very few UFOs are flying saucers.
Really?
And that's one of the difficulties in this whole subject. People confuse, they throw into the same pot meteors, as you just saw,
Yeah.
all kinds of things that aren't extraterrestrial spacecraft. In every field of science, the job is to focus on the data relevant to the problem at hand.
Yeah.
The question isn't, are all UFOs, pick one of three, are any UFOs extraterrestrial spacecraft? My answer is, after 25 years of study and investigation, yes, the evidence is overwhelming from all over the planet. If you focus on the relevant data,
Yeah.
that some UFOs, underline the sum
Yes.
28 times, are indeed ET visitors, extraterrestrial, intelligently controlled vehicles. That's of enormous importance as far as I'm concerned. And what I'll be doing in my program at the meeting Sunday afternoon is to review the whole picture of government cover-up of the things that happened starting in 1947.
Let's start there. This was the Roswell,
Roswell, New Mexico,
yes.
out in the boonies.
In the what?
Out in the boondocks, American slang, sorry.
This is fine.
Way out in the desert,
Yeah.
a vehicle went across. This is 2 weeks after that pilot saw 9 flying saucers,
Yeah.
flying discs as they were called. Apparently one ran into a storm, an electrical storm. This is in the mountain desert area. Exploded, spewed pieces covering an area 3/4 of a mile long, 1/4 mile wide. A rancher found some of the pieces. He had heard the explosion. Went into town at the only atomic bombing group in the world, very special military group. They went out, picked up a truck full, a car full, left most of the stuff there, out in the desert. That's real desert country,
Yeah.
Many miles from any town. They went out, picked up some of this stuff, brought it back to town, put it on an airplane, put out a press release, mind you, saying we now have one of the flying discs that people have been seeing all over the place.
Yeah.
Took it off to a military base where a general said, sorry about that, it's just a weather balloon. And the press bought it hook, line, and sinker. We have FBI memos establishing it was sent off to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base for examination. That was the beginning of the cosmic Watergate, the cover-up.
Why are they covering it up? I mean...
Several reasons. I think the first and most obvious, dating from then, was, the big question was, how do they work? If they were Russian vehicles, we had a real problem at that time. Yeah. If you want to figure out how they work, you set up a secret project. You can't tell your friends without telling your enemies. The second problem is the other side of the coin. Suppose the other guy figures out how they work before you do. You don't want him to know you know he knows, kind of thing. Weapon, counter-weapon. And the third problem is the political one. If there were to be an announcement tomorrow by 2 highly trusted individuals around the world, the Pope and Walter Cronkite, saying indeed some flying saucers are extraterrestrial spacecraft, what would happen? Church attendance would go up, of course. The stock market would go down. Mental hospital admissions would go up. But the big thing there would be an immediate push on the part of the younger generation that was never alive when there wasn't a space program for a whole new view of ourselves. Instead of as English, Canadian American, as Earthlings.
Yes, so
no
as
governments,
universelings.
well, planetarians or something like that.
Yeah.
But no government on this planet, yours or mine, wants people to owe their allegiance to the planet instead of that individual government. Nationalism's the only game in town.
But some, I mean, surely some of those people that hushed it up in 1947 are getting a bit ancient now.
Yes, some of them are, and some of them are talking, but the penalties for breaking security are very severe. You'd be amazed how much stuff is still classified from that era. I've spent hundreds of hours in the National Archives in the States, in the Truman Library, the Eisenhower Library. We've dug out a few goodies because people have made mistakes. Let me just read from a Canadian top secret then, not now. It says top secret there, but no longer.
Oh, I love pieces of paper with top secret on them, yes.
This is by a Canadian engineer. I made discreet inquiries through the Canadian Embassy staff in Washington, who were able to obtain for me the following information. A, the matter is the most highly classified subject in the United States government, rating higher even than the H-bomb, 2 years before the H-bomb. B, flying saucers exist. C, their modus operandi, how they work, is unknown, but concentrated effort is being made by a small group headed by Dr. Vannevar Bush. He was a science czar in the U.S. during the war. D, the entire matter is considered by the United States authorities to be of tremendous significance. This is 1950. I've got a whole host more. I'll be discussing those in my talk on Sunday.
Right, just very, very briefly, are the aliens friendly?
They seem to be neutral, which is just as bothersome to some people. They're here for their thing, not to help or hurt us. If anybody's wondering, well, why the heck would they come to this mediocre place, you know, out in the corner of the galaxy? One thing happening here guaranteed to be of interest to them. Soon we'll be going to the stars. Now, if you were an alien, wouldn't you be concerned about this primitive society whose major activity is tribal warfare coming out and bothering you?
I'd love it. Do you know, I got the feeling we're not alone at all. Now, thank you very much, Stanton Friedman. If you'd like to phone in a question to our special guest this morning, Kenneth Williams, call us now on 0140401. Maybe he'll talk about flying saucers. We'll take a short break now.